Acting and Musical Theater here at the Conservatory, as well as the faculty advisor to our wonderful directors of TRAP, Grace Fisher and Andrew Hand. A couple of quick announcements before we get to the performance. As you may have heard earlier before we open house, a couple of lighting hiccups before the show. We don't think that it's going to be detrimental in any way, but if you do see a cue where perhaps all the lights are on during the show, or we have a moment of darkness, don't worry about that at all. We'll just, I think, continue on with the show. There are flashing lights during the performance, so if you are sensitive to that, you should be aware of that as we proceed. We do ask that as the show unfolds, saying this, having experienced this last couple of nights, please don't text during the show. Please don't converse during the show for a very good reason. There's actually, I think, some incredibly important information you're going to want to make sure you do not miss as this thing unfolds. I would also say, if you have any candy or lozenges that you're particularly fond of, open them now, and not during the most suspenseful moment of silence in Act 2 of the show. Okay? Fair enough. We also have a donation basket outside, which you probably saw. Right here on the wall next to the door is a QR code. If you have the ability, please do donate to these wonderful artists who work so hard on this incredible production. Not only are you supporting them, you're also supporting future endeavors like this to do other incredible productions like this, and I hope you're going to have a lot of fun and be very impressed. That's all. Enjoy yourselves tonight. Have fun, and without further ado, enjoy TRAP!
On the interviews of the members of our theater company soon after the incidents in Menacap, California, February 2024. The interviews are filmed. Tonight's performance is based on those interviews, as well as on available primary resources including letters, newspaper articles, recordings, and security camera footage.
Should I start?
Where are we going?
Okay. So, I'm just gonna start with the story. When I was much younger, way before I was involved with law enforcement, I had this idea that I wanted to be an artist. And this was in New York. I lived in this before walk-up, tiny studio, and I tried to be a painter. So I'd wait tables during the day, and I'd stay up late doing poke paints. Stay up until 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And that was when I noticed that I had this neighbor. I'd hear his alarm go off at 3:30, and he'd say, "Not again." Then at exactly 4:15, I'd hear him open his door and descend down the stairs. But I never saw him. One night I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to see this guy. So at exactly 4:15, I heard him fumble with his lock, and I crept to my own front door. The door had this big peephole about this big. Turned off my own light, pressed my eye up against the peephole, and I screamed. An involuntary scream that comes out, a real scream. It's very different. It's not like a movie scream. It was like, ah! So I scream and fall back against the bed. Huge commotion as I hit the ground. Because what had happened was I looked out and I saw an eye. He was looking in at me. I'm on the floor and I just freeze. Finally, from the other side of the door, I heard the sound of him pick up his keys and then start down the stairs. Now I had to see what he looked like. So I picked myself up, pressed myself against the door, once again looked through, and there's that eye again. It was mine. It was the reflection of my own eye. I realized it just in time to see this freaked out postman heading down the stairs. That was the most scared I've ever been, and it was just me scaring me. The only other time I've heard that scream, what a real scream sounds like, was that night when I heard 241 people make it all at once. Told that story to Candelaria, and she said, "You're missing part of the lesson. It's more than one thing that scared you. It's mostly about being startled. What was the first thing you did? You flipped off the light switch. People are naturally scared of the dark."
When I was 8, we lived in a house in Dunbar, North Carolina, just about a quarter of a mile from Kendall Avenue, the main shopping street. It was a tall house, and from my bedroom.
Keep going.
It was a tall house, and from my bedroom on the 4th floor, I could see a billboard. It was an ad for Diet Coke. In the picture, 2 guys and a girl were clowning around, but exaggerated. They were posing for each other. I loved that billboard. To me, it was a picture of infinity. Models acting like people, acting like models. It was the first time I encountered recursion, something that bends back into itself, that refers to itself and so becomes a loop. My name is Candelaria Ortiz. When the incident at the Oak Box happened, they were trying to understand it from every angle. criminal, psychological, biological, and philosophical. That's why they brought me in.
I have this picture. We were on our way to church and everyone looked so nice that I lined us all up and I took one. Me with my arms wrapped around all three of them. And before I could take the next one, I looked and it was a miracle shot. Like the Hail Mary of all impromptu photos. So I had it printed 8 by 10 and put it in a frame. The frame though, the cardboard leg that balances it broke, so instead of using that, I leaned it up against the wall on top of a cabinet. That night, all three kids were headed out to the play. And I saw that it had slid down and I had to lean down to pick it up and lean against the wall again. So, one moment of grace. As they walked out that door, I looked at that picture.
Minicap isn't a town anybody outside of Amador County has ever heard of. But everybody's surprised at how pretty it is. I mean, once you get off 231, it's all rolling hills and green. Most people's job has something to do with parsley farming. You never think about it, but yes, there are parsley farms, big ones. Not a lot of people move here, but not a lot of people leave. They like it because it's peaceful. It's safe.
So my wife had pink eye, and I was going to pick up our friend Harlan, but when I got there, he said, "You came at the right time. The kitchen sink's a disaster." I'm a contractor, not a plumber, but I said, okay. And after looking at the clog for 5 minutes, I said, it's either the clog or the show. "You okay missing the show?" He said, "Sure. And we're going to drink after." I said, okay. But we're going to pretend that we saw the show.
So I'm brand new to this job. I mean, it's my 4th day ever as a detective, and I really want to do a good job, but I can already tell that I'm not, and it's stupid things. Being new in a place gets in your way in ways you don't expect. Why are there 2 conference rooms with the same name? And a fax machine, do you press 9, do you not press 9, and people are not... Just edit this out, please. People are not as nice to me as I would be in their situation. I can't even tell where the paper goes in this fax machine.
It was a printer.
So for the most part, I'm thinking, how could things get worse? And then the whole incident starts, and things get worse, and worse, and worse.
Me and Mary Riggle were sitting on the ridge below the oak box, just talking of the world, when suddenly there was this crazy loud sound. I mean, it was like, sounded like it came from the oak box. Mary said it must be part of the play.
I'm a forensic engineer, so if a bridge collapses or a dam gives way or a fire traps a bunch of people, it's my job to figure out what went wrong. Some of the cases are famous. The Hartford Circus Fire in 1944 killed 168 people. The Great White Fire in 2003 killed 100. One of the things you start to pay attention to is what happened with the doors. There was a fire, a famous fire in Chicago, 1903, the Iroquois Fire. It was right after Christmas, so all the kids were out of school. The whole theater was full of families, all 3 levels, even standing room on the 2nd. A curtain caught on fire, and what happened was the first people to the door realized half a second too late that the doors opened in. The people behind them panicked, crowded them, and they were trapped with the hinges going the wrong way. When you look at a door that's trapped people, you find scuff marks about half the way up because the impulse is to kick. Sometimes if there's more time, you'll find dents, sometimes big ones where somebody grabbed a fire extinguisher or a dresser, something heavy. But the incident at the oak box, I'd never seen anything like it. You looked at those doors and you just thought, what the hell?
When I got home, my wife came running up the door and threw her arms around me. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I shouldn't say, "We went to go see the show and got a drink afterwards." She tells me to turn on the news. I'm expecting Channel 2. But she turns on CNN.
I wasn't surprised they could find me. I was just surprised they thought to look. My name is Rickinock Boehner. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota. I study fear.
911, what's your emergency? I'm not sure. Is it life-threatening? Yes. Are you safe right now? No. I'm sending someone. More than one. There are cars already on the way. What's your name, hon? Angela. Angela? I'm sending them to the Oak Box. Is that right? Yes. And there's a play tonight. The college is doing a play. Is that where you are? Yes. In the theater? Yes. And somebody's hurt. Everybody. Who's that again? Where are you in the theater? I'm just standing on the stage. Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
None of it made any sense. All of a sudden, this tiny town is the site of a tragedy that nobody's ever seen or heard of. 241 people fall unconscious watching a college play that the program tells us is called Trap. Now, we have a few events for the timeline. We know everyone's okay at 11 after 8 because that's when the usher texts her older brother to come pick her up. She goes into the theater, turns off her phone. Then at 9:10, two kids sitting on the ridge below the Oak Box hear what they think is a foghorn, but they assume it's part of the play. Then at 9:22, we get the 911 call. A girl named Angela Lore, who, turns out, is the only person still conscious. When we finally get her out of there, she won't talk. She either doesn't know what happened, or she's too scared to say.
The Oak Box was international news. I was hiking in the hills near Clovis, New Zealand when I first heard about it. People falling unconscious. In a theater. That was key. I had conflicting thoughts. I thought, how horrible. And I thought, there it is. There's our proof.
I didn't see it until morning, but it was on every single channel. I got that kind of feeling you get when you see something on the news that's in your own neighborhood. I remember thinking, the Oak Box? Again? There's no way this is a coincidence. Everybody kept saying, that was 78 years ago. I remember thinking, I don't care if it was 78 years ago. One theater, two tragedies. There's got to be a connection.
To build a new theater palace on Zipper Bluff passed with 54% of the vote. According to Mayor Roger Wegman, we intend to use this money to construct a building that will attract visitors to Medicap from all over the country. The search for an architect is set to begin immediately.
Theaters have soaring spaces, fly spaces, where the scenery can be pulled up out of view. My plan extends the metaphor of flight throughout the building. At the sides, half arches will rise like wings, lit from within. My hope is that the building will be known far and wide as the Medicap Angel.
April 1st, 1947. Ground was broken yesterday on the Medicap Angel, our city's 700-seat theater. Mayor Roger Wegman overturned the ceremonial first shovelfuls of birth, then declared that the theater would be a boon to our economy and, even more, to our spirits.
Letter from Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, April 3rd, 1947. My dear sister, I miss you. I miss you, and there's no one anywhere in Minicup I can tell this to. I'm disgusted with myself. I had Jonathan all to myself for 3 hours, and I said nothing. We had dinner at Chauncey's cream room, but it was somber. Jonathan has been so quiet ever since Pat moved to San Francisco. Why do men have so few friends? He didn't talk, and I couldn't think of anything to talk about except the question. And he simply wasn't brave enough to ask it.
April 4th, 1947. 3 days in, construction halted on the Medicap Civic Theater. According to Foster Wellingham, chief engineer, synastic techniques have shown that the granite bedrock on Zipper Bluff is twice as thick as previously believed. Our plans call for dressing rooms below ground as well as stage machinery, including trapdoors. This delay will be a few weeks at most.
He said yes! Adelaide, I cannot tell you how happy I am. Saturday night, we walked down the bluff. We stared out at the lights of the ships, and when he turned around, I bent down on one knee. I held up grandfather's wedding band, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What does it look like I'm doing?" "That's not how it's done." I said, "Jonathan, we're going to be married for at least 50 years. No one needs to know how it began." Adelaide, I feel lit from within, electrified. But this time, I promise, not in a bad way. Oh, I must rush off. The Crowleys are coming over, so I have to buy another sofa.
May 31st, 1947. Local boy vanishes. 10-year-old Marcus Tumble was reported missing by his parents Tuesday night after he disappeared during a family picnic. He'd been playing hide and seek with his cousins, said his father, Guillermo. Then they went to play on the beach below Zipper Bluff, and he didn't come back. Marcus is 5 feet, 2 inches tall, and was wearing white shorts and a long black sweater. He's missing a front tooth.
My apologies for not being clearer on the topic of the Crowleys and the sofa. Last week, I was certain that Jonathan would rebuff my proposal. It drove me positively frenzied. The morning before I proposed, I was alone in the house, so I banged on the south wall of the living room as hard as I could with my shoe. I did it again, and again, and again, and again, until I was calm. The sofa arrived just in time, and I was able to blame the movers of the dents in the wall.
June 5th, 1947. Yesterday, by a vote of 5 to 4, the Board of Supervisors authorized new blueprints for the Civic Theater. According to Supervisor Zed Arenthal, we had no choice, given our updated understanding of the geology of the bluff. We've had to abandon the idea of wings.
My dear sister, every moment of every day is the happiest time of my life. The only shadow is that it is so easy to tip Jonathan into silence. He got so quiet whenever I made a joke about the kilt he was wearing for the Scottish festival. And then yesterday, I said, "Darling, please don't misconstrue this, but I'm glad your business failed. Finally, you're all mine."
Los Angeles Times, September 2nd, 1947. For the first time in history, residents of the placid farming community of Medicap, California are locking their doors. The disappearance of 10-year-old Marcus Tumble has unsettled this town an hour and a half north of Santa Barbara. Marcus disappeared while at a family reunion beneath an area called Zipper Bluff. In the absence of plausible natural reasons, residents are looking at each other warily. Marcus's mother, Thea, finds it suspicious that he should go missing on the day of the Scottish festival. All those men we never seen before, walking all over town wearing dresses. The police say there's no evidence, but I don't need evidence.
September 24th, 1947. Man arrested in Marcus Tumble case. Police on Thursday announced that they've taken into custody a suspect in the case of the missing 10-year-old Marcus Tumble. The man in custody is a 33-year-old.
Jonathan! Adelaide, they've put Jonathan in jail. It's unbelievable. They're saying that he had something to do with the boy who went missing. It's ridiculous. They're not even saying why they suspect him.
Letter from Gander, Maine, Esquire to Samson Bonet, Esquire. The trial proceeds well. On the stand, Mrs. Tumble pointed to a scratching of a float ring that was found in Mr. Mollis' furnished room. She positively identified it as the float ring that had belonged to her son. But Mrs. Tumble is not our only ally. Watch the jury as they watch Miss Pike. As her fiancé grimaces, she grimaces. As he looks downcast, so does she. She impeaches herself as a character witness. She will be desperate to testify on his behalf. We must not appear too eager. So the photograph of a float ring that I'm holding here, you claim that you picked this up on the beach. Is that right?
Yes.
Why would you do that?
I don't know, I just did.
Were you afraid you might drown? Objection?
Sustained.
So in the afternoon of May 30th, the afternoon that Marcus Tumble disappeared, you claimed you had been taking a long walk, a 4-hour walk on the beach. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you in the habit of taking 4-hour walks in the middle of your workday?
No.
Had you ever taken such a walk?
No.
Did anyone see you?
It was a weekday afternoon.
You work at Mom's Limited, shipping and transcription. Is that right? As a typist?
Yes.
And how long had that been your place of employment?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yet you felt comfortable taking 4 hours off.
I had to think about the world, my place in that world.
So you took this walk without telling anyone. Mr. Mollusk, is that right?
I wrote a note saying that I wasn't feeling well.
And who'd you give this note to?
I was going to give it to my supervisor, Mr. Clark, but I later found it in my own pocket.
November 12th, verdict announced. Swift justice. After deliberating for only 5 hours, the Jonathan Mollusk jury announced a guilty verdict on the count of kidnapping and guilty as well on account of murder. There was a commotion.
No, he didn't do anything! No! No, he didn't do anything!
That she had to be forcibly removed from the courtroom. But the murderer was never to spend 1 minute behind bars. In an extraordinary scene, 2 hours later, the boy's father and 3 armed men rushed the bailiff as they made their way from the courthouse by the sea to the transports. The assailants grabbed Mr. Mollusk and pulled him into the ocean, where they held his head under the water until he was still. A witness reported that the incident confirmed Mollusk's guilt, as he made not a move to free himself, allowed himself to be held under without a struggle. November 17th, body of child found. On Wednesday, construction workers at the site of the Civic Theater uncovered the body of a child. Authorities have confirmed that Marcus Tumble was found beneath a trapdoor of the long-delayed theater. It's a 1 in a million tragedy, said construction supervisor Clifton Ailes. The theater was sealed for safety, but one of the lower windows had come unlatched. He must have climbed in. From there, he appears to have peered into the still shallow trapdoor. When that heavy door fell shut, he wouldn't have had a chance. Medicap Herald, February 1st.
Los Angeles Times, February 2nd.
Time Magazine, February 7th. The opening night of our theater was home to the most extraordinary spectacle ever witnessed by this community.
The long-awaited opening of the Medicap Civic Theater will long be remembered.
3 months after the discovery of a boy beneath the still under construction track of the theater. A tragedy known to everyone every member of our town.
The opening of the theater was finally underway.
Within that drenched in a sudden squall, the capacity audience stashed their umbrellas, shook off their coats, eager to put the events of the past few months out of their heads.
The audience watched, rapped as Medea, passionately played by Broadway actress Leni Rasmussen, called her children to her breast one final time. But as Medea wailed her vengeance, Norma Pike, fiancée of unfortunately accused Jonathan Mollusk, entered the theater dressed all in green.
Less a dress than a costume.
Dressed like the ocean.
She held aloft a glass.
Tall and green, full of liquid.
Held it high like a torch and proclaimed,
Welcome to this theater. Your theater.
Most of the audience would later report they believed her to be a part of the performance.
This box of a theater will become famous. And I'm not going to do it. No one will ever think of this dank shell of oak without thinking of the 3 people who died because of it. The boy who is suffocated. The man murdered because of the boy. And the woman who cursed the building for all time by drowning in it.
Some looked away, the rest wished they had as
She brought the glass to her mouth and tipped it back.
Poured it straight into her throat.
aspirated the entire contents of the glass.
Swallowed it without swallowing.
Her eyes bore into the audience until they went dark, and she fell dead to the floor.
In front of 700 people, Miss Pike drowned herself with a glass of seawater.
Episode 71. Arning. In the years after the triple tragedy, dozens of people, moonlight sweethearts, schoolboy daredevils, have looked up at the single Mika window in the theater lobby and seen a figure. Sometimes it's a boy, trapped, afraid. Others see the outline of a man, eyes closed, resigned. But on the rare occasion that storm watchers find themselves drenched, overtaken, the shape illuminated by the lightning flash is a woman. She holds a sea green goblet and smiles in invitation. Drink with me.
After the oak box incident, one of the things we wanted to know was why Medicap? Why the oak box? My theory was that they might have chosen a place that had some fright built in just by being in the building. Everybody in town knows the story of Norma Pike, but it's a local tragedy. On an impulse, really, I googled scary theater. It's the top result. 4 terrifying theaters. Princess Theatre, Melbourne, Australia. Manila Film Center, Pasay City, Philippines. Theatre Royal, Drury Lane, London. And then there it is, 4th out of 4. The Oak Box, Medicap, California. I got chills because I realized that's how they found the Oak Box.
It was 18 hours after the incident at the Oak Box. 236 audience members and 5 members of the cast. On the ground, breathing, thank God. But 2 mysteries. What happened to those people? That was the main question, of course. The second was the doors. How do we make sense of those doors?
Could you tell us your name, please?
I'm Avishay Lenzer. I'm the Chief Forensic Engineer with the California Department of Infrastructure.
Efren Solis, I'm a firefighter, Station 41, Minicap County.
My name is Isa Fuente. I'm a neurobiologist at UC Berkeley.
I was the first person into the theater that night. I saw the girl on stage. I'm the one who carried her out. Before picking her up, she said the thing you couldn't figure out, forwards.
The first thing I noticed about the bodies was the absence of what we call relative resonance. Relative resonance is the tendency of people who know each other in tragic situations to cluster. After a fire, you'll find the bodies of friends wrapped around each other, or the body of a parent wrapped around a child. But the bodies in the Oak Box were different. People who weren't related sometimes fell on top of each other, and people who loved each other in life were sprawled in different directions.
What about this girl, Sarah West? She was almost to the door. Was she leaving early?
No. Look at the way she fell. She was running.
And she's wearing earbuds. She wasn't paying attention to the play.
Can you tell what she was listening to?
It's classical. Gymnopedy #1.
Gymnopédie #1 by Eric Satie.
Yeah?
Something else is strange. Paige? Something wrong.
I didn't know you knew my name.
What else do you notice that's strange about the positioning of the bodies?
Programs. So many people are holding them.
That's what I noticed too.
Holding them like this, like they've been trying to read them up until the last second.
It was the speed that blew me. What could overcome that many people that fast? Maybe even electrical impulse? Maybe some sort of gas had overcome them. We scoured the ventilation system. Found nothing.
I was in the theater a lot. I wanted to spend time with them.
I sent to the fire room. Any thought on what could have overcome this many people that fast?
How do you know it was fast?
Of course it was fast.
That's when they brought me in. Figuring out how long a body has been unconscious is actually not that hard to do if you have the right equipment. When a person loses consciousness, their body temperature drops by 2.5 degrees. But that takes a while. So we attached electrodes to their foreheads, microthermometers. And what we found was a surprise, to say the least.
Didn't make any sense.
The first of all was Paul Schmidt in C813. Next was Anna Stroheim 3 rows back in T41. The first 26 people didn't lose consciousness all at the same time. They went down one by one.
I said, are you sure of this?
I'm positive. Look at this. It's the seating chart for the Oak Box. A13, D41. What do you notice? Nothing. Next was F42.
So, front row, aisle, other side of aisle.
Then Lilas Raji, L19.
The back of row L is at the horizontal aisle to the center. So it started at the front, then the back, then the sides.
Exactly. It works that way until the 26th person, Franklin James.
I knew Frank.
Whatever happened to them, it started on the edges and worked its way in, like something cooking. This doesn't seem like a natural phenomenon. This seems like attackers.
Agreed.
241 people fall unconscious one by one like they got snuck up on. That doesn't make any sense because they could see every other person falling over. There's no... I don't see how humans could do this.
Meaning what?
I'm not sure.
Hey, can you guys shut up for a second? Did you hear that? There.
I don't hear anything.
There! I lived in Alaska Alaska till I was 10. I have great hearing. Your ears are always covered. It's like a squeak. There. Again, the bodies are making sounds.
Which bodies?
All of them.
On Sunday morning, we had Tuesdays. Sunday afternoon, we had food. What happened to those people? What were the sounds after the series? And the doors? Those people had 45 minutes to leave, and most doors were wide open.
Officials are baffled today by events in a small California town.
In our top story tonight, a mystery.
Un evento misterioso.
On Monday morning, we released footage, and the calls came flooding in. By noon, we had calls from 5 different continents. I called investigators from other counties to investigate every single lead.
I got the slush pile. It was bigger than all the others combined, and it had more crazy than I knew was in the world. Oakbox hotline.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello! My name is Marion J. I'm a professor at the University of Washington. What I'm about to say will sound crazy.
Uh-huh.
Is this a secure line?
Yes. Why?
I'm gonna tell you something, but you have to promise not to hang up on me.
Can't promise that.
You got a theater full of people who've fallen unconscious.
Yes.
By now, you probably figured out they were attacked one by one.
How do you know that?
I think you're dealing with something called Faranox.
Faranox? What are Faranox?
Start with what we're not, which is human.
Okay, I am gonna hang up now.
Are all your victims still alive?
Yes?
They won't be if you hang up. You've less than a week until their hearts start to stop.
Faranox.
They're not human, but they look human.
And why haven't I heard of them?
Hello? Hello? Is there somebody there? Sorry. I thought I heard something. You haven't heard of Faranox because they don't want you to, because the attacks are rare. I mean, Faranox are like locusts. They attack every 19 years. The last attack was in Gulfspeak, Scotland in 2006. There was an attack in Iceland 19 years before that. And then 19, and then 19. And this is a swarm behavior. The creatures attack, mate, they all die. All but one. A caretaker watches over the larvae while they grow. And what that means is that the Faranox are all 19 years old, except one.
Okay, thank you. I've made notes of your call and we'll get back to you if
We
necessary.
have an unusually high number of new students at Medicap College this year,
Yes,
and at least one professor.
the theater professor.
What happened to the old one?
She died.
Suddenly, with no apparent cause?
Yeah, why wouldn't anyone else have heard of these things?
Oh,
What?
nothing. My house must have blown a fuse. Can't see a thing. There are 4 of us who are trying to hunt Faranox at the same time the Faranox are hunting us. Of course, they have an advantage.
Which is what?
They know for sure that we exist.
3 other people studying.
There's a zoologist in Columbia named Keta Mugarupa. There's an evolutionary biologist named Melissa Tang, and a professor at the University of Minnesota. He studies fear. Who's there? Who's there?
Then I heard a click. I tried to call back, but it wouldn't go through. And I sat in that call room thinking I had a choice to make. I could either march into Sergeant Brock's office and say, I know this sounds crazy, but I think I might be onto something. Or I could move on to the next call. The thing is, even though it sounded ridiculous, I believed him. But I was new at work, and I was already screwing up. I moved on to the next call.
At first, we didn't know what we were studying. Hunting. As it turned out, the key had already been discovered by a Bolivian named Keta Muguruza and her postdoc Bilo Penti. They won the 2021 Nobel Prize in Biology for their work.
Estábamos estudiando algo que la gente había notado durante siglos.
We were studying something people had noticed for centuries.
Se llama el enigma de la viuda negra.
It's called the black widow conundrum. When an insect gets caught in a black widow's web, the spider doesn't attack right away. Instead, she follows a particular, almost ritualized pattern of movement. The moth knows something approaches, slowly. The widow brings herself into view, large, black, shiny. The moth panics, jerking the web up and down. The spider lifts her forelegs to reveal a blood-red hourglass. Adrenaline flows from the moth into the web. The strands are drenched in the insect's terror. And the widow bathes in it.
It's a brilliant evolutionary strategy because it's a way to get nourishment from a different part of the animal. Every other predator on the planet feeds on the meat of its prey. These creatures subsist on the powerful chemicals secreted by animals who are terrified. They feed on fear.
An animal that feeds on fear has a different hunting strategy than one that feeds on flesh. If terror is what sustains you, then you have to create it. And so a Fairnock doesn't just chase their prey, they trap it.
The Venus flytrap and the Black Widow are the two most famous Fairnocks, plant and insect. But then there was an evolutionary jump.
The idea that a species of Fairnock might be capable of mimicking humans was so hard to get over that we had to stop asking ourselves, how could this happen? But why? Why would it be worth it to prey on humans when there are 1,000 other species easier to capture?
Evolution follows the prey. The juicier the prey, the more clever the trap. Fairnock's chosen prey, their only prey, are the creatures on Earth most susceptible to fear.
The human brain evolves in a way that made us extremely good at seeing threats on the horizon. Is that a snake in the grass or a branch? Is that the sound of a lion or thunder? All of that worry helped keep us alive for 100,000 years. But when we left the jungle, our capacity for worry didn't just disappear, it repurposed itself. So now, instead of worrying about getting eaten by a tiger, we are worried about tomorrow's math test.
All of the anxiety we produce is useless to us, but from a Fairnock's point of view, makes us the equivalent of a large, slow-moving stick.
From the obituary for Marion J., Professor of Neuroscience at the University of Washington. Professor J was well-liked and well-respected. His unexpected passing has thrown a cloud over this campus. Professor J is survived by his parents, Martin and Pandela J, and his grandmother, Thelma Lanigan.
And do you know why we're having this conversation?
Because of yesterday.
Could you be a little more specific?
Because of what happened in the woods.
We're here because of what you told people happened in the woods.
It happened.
You talked to a lot of people yesterday, and you told them all the same story.
Yes.
Is that story something you're sure is true? Or is it possible that you could have made some of it up?
It was all true.
So that's why we're here today, Kenosha. Because that story about what happened in the woods, that story couldn't possibly have happened.
Kenosha came out of the womb perfect. But when she was 3 weeks old, she had a seizure. We were afraid we'd lose her. You could tell right away something had changed.
I don't think I'm ever gonna go back. I remember Kenosha's first semester at Minicap because she'd gone up to the audition board. Only the string for the pencil was broken, so you couldn't put your name on it. So I said, if you want to audition, I have a pen. And she said, my name is Kenosha R. Silverling Johnson.
So the joke very quickly went around. I don't know who said it first. That the R.
The R.
The R was to distinguish herself.
To distinguish herself from all the other Kenosha Silverling Johnsons.
Kids at our old school could be so mean. Minicap was supposed to be a fresh start.
Thinking back, that was a bad start because you always had that in your head. Had like a little bit of distance.
Kenosha had all the normal emotions. Grief and happiness and nervousness. But they weren't wired right. Like, she'd grimace to say, I love you. She spent her whole life studying people's expressions, and she got quite good at showing the right emotion, but she was acting. It was like she was doing it phonetically. But there was one thing she never could manage, and that was to lie. There was too much going on. What do you do with your hands? Do your eyes look up or down? She couldn't calibrate the information.
She told me she couldn't go to formal with me because her uncle was an astronaut. I wasn't actually gonna ask, but it still made me feel kind of bad.
I'd give her lessons. I'd say, the situation is you are 2 hours late. I've been trying to reach you. I am frantic and I'm angry. Go. She'd go blank. And you tell me that your phone ran out of juice. She was awful. I'd say, Kenosha, you have got to master this, or you're going to have the most boring college years of anybody on earth.
Now, the bench incident really was an accident. You know the dining hall tables? They're long, extreme benches. And Kenosha was all alone, so I came up on the other side of her and asked if anyone was sitting there. And she said no. So, I picked up the bench and moved it over to our table so we can fit more people. Of course, long term it actually worked out in her favor because while she was alone is whenever Clifton went over to her.
Clifton? Where to start?
Clifton's kind of perfect.
I think he's really, really nice.
So sweet.
We don't have like homecoming queens or kings or any type of royalty, but if we did, he'd be both of us.
There was one thing, actually. When I saw her the first time, her phone rang. And she didn't see who it was, but she made herself smile. And when she answered the phone, you could hear it in her voice.
Next thing you know, I look over there in the dining hall, and she is making him laugh.
So, most of the time, she was hilarious on purpose, but not always. Once I was laughing so hard.
His head literally hits the table.
One time she said to me, "I like you more than water."
You would see them everywhere together. He would laugh and put his arm around her neck.
I couldn't tell if it was romantic or not.
So we're barely a week into the semester, and the new girl's standing in front of the audition board. Only the string for the pencil was broken.
I wanted to be in a play, so I did some research, and I found the best book about acting, which is Uta Hagen's Respect for Acting. It's pretty famous, and it is great. You should read it if you're interested in acting at all.
We had talked about the idea of Kenosha being involved in theater because I thought she'd be quite good. She was so good at mimicking emotions. I said, well, sweetheart, go for it.
Kenosha, that story that you told so many people, it made some of those people anxious. It scared them. Did they cancel the play? No. It didn't scare them enough. Why do you want the play canceled? Something bad is going to happen. What's going to happen? Can you tell me that?
It was really early for the fall play to be happening, but we just went with it. We assumed it had something to do with the Miss Pendulum tragedy.
Marsh Pendulum was one of my best professors. Such a shock. 2 days before the start of the semester, and just bam, dropped dead of a heart attack. She was 38. Didn't smoke, exercised. You know, how that just happens sometimes.
She goes back to her dorm the day of the auditions, and she calls me. I say, how'd it go? She says, I nailed it.
I saw her audition. She did really good, but I told her, you never know.
The next day, she calls me from school, and she's talking very fast. And she says, I didn't get a part. And I say, you know, sweetheart, sometimes that happens. We don't get everything we expect. She says, but I was the best one. Even then, there could be all sorts of reasons. She said, no, something's up.
The casting was pretty strange.
We're all looking at this list like, why don't I know any of those names?
Almost every name on the list was new. Practically every kid who got a part was new that year.
When she'd get too excited, you know, she would lose her skill at imitating, so I started to hear a She hung up, and I was worried something might happen.
We were at the first cast meeting, and I was there to see if I could volunteer for tech. Kenosha comes marching in, and she starts to give some sort of announcement, and then she didn't. She started to make beeping noises.
That was a panic attack.
She fell down, hard on one knee. She couldn't breathe. She actually crawled out of the room.
A person who tells a story over and over, it gets a performance aspect to it. They subconsciously know what things are getting a reaction, and the more they tell the story, the more they lean into those aspects of it. The story doesn't get so much memorized as etched.
She said, I'm gonna tell you a story. Please just listen.
She said, please, just listen.
Please, just listen. Yesterday, I made it out of class, but I had hit my left knee.
My left knee.
Right here, so I couldn't go very fast.
I was allowed to walk back to the dorm hall as long as I faced the traffic, but when I looked behind me, suddenly there were these 3 people way back, and I knew I had to get away from them.
There's that big strip of forest between the highway and the Walmart, and before I jumped into it, I looked again, and they were way closer.
down the dip of the kiddie coaster.
All I needed was to get to them, but when I looked again, there weren't 3 pair of little eyes.
There were 2.
Where's the other one?
And now I have to choose. Do I try and make it to the parking lot carnival, or do I hide in the forest? I know I'm close, but for some reason, the scariest idea is that I almost make it. That I'm just a few feet from safety and that the third one is waiting. And then he grabs me in his arms.
And I can't do it. I can't go forward. People don't naturally look up because we've got no predators from there. So I start climbing a tree. I start climbing a live oak.
A live oak. And halfway up, I freeze. And then the 2 of them get to me. And then the third one does. They don't see me. Even though they like the ground with their eyes.
They start to argue.
They start to have an argument about whose fault it was. And then the 2 of them grab the third one and he starts to scream, "Please, no!" And then they hold his head. And the other one says something in his ear. He whispers it, but I hear it completely clear. And after he whispers it, the third one starts crying. Then he falls over, dead, onto the roots of the tree. What he whispered was, "Can I tell you a secret?"
Kenosha, can you concentrate just a little longer here? You said that their eyes lit up. Could those have been flashlights?
No. I know the difference.
Have you ever heard of anyone whose eyes lit up?
No.
So is it possible you imagined it? What if what you said happened in the woods, there should have been 4 footprints, right? But they only had yours.
They must have erased them.
The police followed the tracks to the tree, just like you said, but there's no body there.
They moved it.
And what about that sound that sounded like it was coming from everywhere?
It was a foghorn.
There are no foghorns within 200 miles.
It was a foghorn.
Foghorns are an example of a phenomenon called duotones. Sounds mean different things in different contexts. In the distance, the foghorn is comforting and tells you you're safe. But if you hear it loud, it's terrifying. You're too close. It's too late.
After the story in the woods, Kenosha started to act strange. Like, she wouldn't go to the South Hall, where the theater is. Wouldn't go at all. I mean, not even to Chem 101. And I'd say, Kenosha, you're putting your whole chem grade in jeopardy. But she would not go anywhere near that theater.
She started to talk bad about the play. She pulled me aside and said, "This play is like a malady." I had no idea what she meant.
She told me the play would be like a sick dog, only scary.
She said it would leave a greenish taste in my mouth.
It's amazing she had time to go to class. She spoke with over a quarter of the school.
She pulled me aside and said, "I don't think we should go to the play that night. Let's play charades."
We should have a movie night.
She said, "Please, please, please don't go to the play." And I said, "Kenosha, I'm in the play."
She was so scared to go to the play. But of course, she ended up going. She thought she could save those people. My brain has an anchor right here. It weighs down my thoughts, and I can't see through it.
Please, I like you more than water.
Kenosha told everyone she met that the play was going to end in horror. I knew she couldn't lie, and I still didn't believe her.
Aeronauts are perfect replicas of people. These things pass for human everywhere. They mimic our emotions. And the only person who's ever been able to detect a aeronaut is somebody who's mimicking emotions herself. It was the girl who disappeared, Kenosha. Miss Taish, please respond to me. When Veronok's attack, it's 99% fatal, like rabies. Once you're attacked, you have 2 weeks before your heart stops, but it's going to stop. In the whole history of time this has been happening, there's only ever been one survivor.
I was still working the slush pile. There was only one person who knew what happened in the theater that night, and if I wanted to talk to her, it was gonna be an angle. I walked into Sergeant Brock's office without knocking and said, "Let me talk to the girl."
The girl's useless.
She said 4 words to that fireman, which doesn't make sense.
She wanted out of there.
What if what she said was 4 words? She was trying to tell him something that somebody said that night. Let me talk to the girl. I can get those 4 words.
With all those bodies, it felt heavy and warm, like a greenhouse. It was 241 bodies, but they put IV tubes in all of them. So the IV bags were up here, and that was the first thing. It was kind of beautiful because the theater was dark and bags flowed.
When he came to me, he said, "I want to take some time off."
And then he said, "I'm sorry, I need all hands on deck right now."
Efren said, and he choked up a little. He said, "I know these people. I love these people."
I wanted to help out at the theater, see if I could figure out the noises that the bodies were making. And he said, "No one can hear those noises except you."
And Efren said, "That's why they need me."
Angela? May I come in? I'll stay with you. My name is Angela, and I'm one of the people who's trying to figure out what happened in the theater. Did someone bother you? It surely did. Nobody wants me now. It's just there because if something went wrong, which it won't, then they can watch back later and see what happened. I feel like I know you. Everybody I've talked to, everybody, when I mention your name, their whole voice bubbles up. We mention soccer, and we talk about your sense of humor and that CPR club you organized. Right now, a lot of people need your help. Whatever went wrong at the Oak Box, it's still going on. I have this theory about what you said to the fireman. He heard 4 words, but I think what you said was 4 words. Can you tell me which of those it was? I have something I want to ask you.
Get away from me.
I'm
Get
sorry.
away.
Sweetheart,
Help!
I'm sorry.
Help me!
I'm sorry.
Anyway, Emily, I'll be back to check on you soon. Miss Mel, this is Efren Solis. I was in your 8th grade trigonometry class 14 years ago. I'm here to make sure you're safe and comfortable. That's not it. I know you can hear me, and I think you're making sounds, you and everyone else in this theater. If you can make any sound from me, I'll hear it. I have great hearing. Try it for me. The year I was in your math class was the year those midterms were stolen off your desk, before you had time to grade. Make a sound if you remember that. For me, it was a nice memory. I was one of 6 kids who had that period free, but instead of making me a suspect, you deputized me. I was new to the school, nervous, and
I never told you how much that meant. To be trusted like that. It shaped who I wanted to be. It's part of the reason I fight fires. So I wanted to tell you, I did steal those tests. Hey!
Quiet.
Nobody heard that? She made the sound! Do it again, just one more time.
You have to keep your voice down.
They can hear us. There's these scientists in Guangzhou, China, that have this therapy that seems to help in coma patients. It's this machine that makes sound waves, and it's so huge they had to put it on a cargo plane, and it's already flying over the Pacific. And then there's this group in Cape Town that are sending these kind of drops that will go in your eyes and stimulate brain waves. And all over the earth, in all different ways, people are praying for you.
Ephraim.
Captain Gunner.
I've got bad news. The EEG results came back. None of the bodies show brain function.
No brain function that they can measure.
It would register.
You're not a scientist. What if whatever happened to them hides brainwaves?
That's not possible.
This isn't possible.
They are breathing, but they are as good as dead.
Then why are they making those noises?
Nobody hears those noises but you.
Because I have great hearing.
Or because you want to.
I hear them!
Never shout at me.
I'm sorry.
It's not good for you to be here so much.
It gives me strength.
When was the last time you slept?
I don't need sleep. They're sleeping for me.
That doesn't make any sense. I don't want to lose you too.
Okay then. I'll sleep.
In order to do that, I'm going to have to, of course,
Captain Donovan, I figured it out. I know what's going on here.
I'm here to escort you out.
No.
Yes, Ephraim.
I figured it out.
We're worried about you.
Have you ever had that dream that something scary is coming towards you and you can't move and you can't make a sound except you make these tiny little squeaks that people outside the dream can hear? They're trying to scream their way out there.
Ephraim, you know I love you. And I think you respect me. But you are not in your right mind. I disagree, and I'm ordering you to come with me.
You need me here.
There is no they anymore. The debate now is when to take them off life support.
No.
The doctors made this decision.
They got it wrong.
I need you to come with me.
Or what?
Or you're fired.
I don't care about that.
No department in the country will hire you.
I'll change careers.
I'm 2 seconds away from dragging you out.
You're not big enough.
I brought deputies.
I'll slip between the bags.
Get out of this theater! Right now!
No!
Guys!
There are still people in those bodies! Listen to me! If you can hear me, I need you to know something. I need you to know that you are loved! This town loves you. God loves you. I love you! I will not let anything happen to you. Please help. If you can, if there's anything you can do to reach back to me, I need you to do it right now! Give me 1%, and I'll give you the other 99!
Let's go, Ephraim.
You hear them?
I hear it.
I do too.
I hear them too. They're in there. And we're gonna figure out how to get them out.
Fear isn't rational. Scary movies make us wince, even though we know there is no way that anything can come out of that screen and hurt us. If anything, it's theater that should be scary.
The attack is so simple. Farnock says, "Can I tell you a secret?" The victim says yes, and that's a mistake because they think of all the scary things that the secret could be. The Farnock whispers something. A tiny extension of one of their incisors punctures the ear, drains every bit of adrenaline from the victim's body, and they fall unconscious. These things frighten me. I study them, but I study them at a distance. We're right at the border between the monsters who pretend to scare us and the people who actually do.
You can do this.
Who's there?
It's us, Detective H, and you remember Angela and carried her out here.
Yes. Hello. Are you alright?
No?
This place takes time to get used to.
I know almost every face. You can help them. If you can remember what happened, that could be the difference. Are they all still alive?
Yes, we're giving them nutrients and water. Assume that's not going to be enough.
Could you leave us alone for just a bit?
I'll be in the back. There's more of us back there if you need us.
Do you remember where you were sitting? Right where I am now. I want you to think about the days leading up to the play. There were posters all over the school.
Yeah. They said, don't tell the secret. And then they changed and said, can't tell the secret.
Good. Then the last day they changed again. They added the title of the play. Do you remember that?
No,
You don't remember the title of the play?
I don't.
It might help to get up on stage.
No.
Just come up here with me. You made a phone call from up here. Do you remember it?
I don't.
What is the last thing you remember about that night?
I was running from the parking lot. I was late because of Toastmasters. But it turned out I didn't have to worry. There was some kind of electrical problem that kept us all in the lobby.
Angela, come up here with me. I won't let anything happen to you. This is where they found you. Take a deep breath. Now lower your head and close your eyes. On the count of 3, lift your head and open your eyes. 1, 2, 3.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
I'm sending someone. More than one. There's cars already on the way. What's your name, honey?
Angela?
Angela?
I'm sending them to the Oak Box. Is that right?
Yes.
And there's a play tonight. The college is doing a play. Is that where you are?
Yes.
In the theater.
Yes.
And somebody's hurt.
Everybody?
Who's that again? Where are you in the theater?
I'm just standing on the stage.
Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
Angela, what are you thinking about?
The end? Calling for help knowing it was too late?
I want to show you something. This is a program from that night. That's the title of the play.
Trap.
What's wrong?
It was right in front of us.
What was?
It should have been obvious. The play was a trap. And it was even called Trap. The play was in sections. 1, the picture of infinity. 2, the oak box. 3, what held them. What held us? Something happened in a theater at a school play. Everyone in the audience had fallen over unconscious.
Well, what happened in the play? What was the story about?
That is what it was about.
In the play you were watching, people had fallen over unconscious in a theater.
Yes, it was mostly interviews, like a documentary. Everybody had fallen over except one girl.
And in the play, what happened to them?
There were these creatures, things that looked human, but they weren't. They were called Fairnox. They attacked the audience one by one and then all at once.
That's what happened in the play, what happened in real life to the people you were with.
The same thing.
You know what made the audience you were with fall over unconscious?
Those creatures, they attacked us. They look human, but they're like black widows. They feed on fear.
Those were things in a play. They are not real.
Yes, they are.
I promise you they're not.
They confuse people. The play was about all the things that were about to happen to us, so when it started, we couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't.
Creatures who feed on fear and put on plays. It's ridiculous.
Sounding like they're ridiculous is how they hide.
Even if they were real, they're not here now. Very, very deep breath. Hold it.
Get away from me.
Why? What's
Who's
wrong?
here? Who's in the theater?
Are you alright?
I think we're okay. Should we leave?
No, I'm just not freaked out.
This place can do that. Do you want me to stay?
Please? For a little bit?
Tell me more about the creatures.
In the final section of the play, which is also called Trap, Fairnox started to attack.
Attack the audience.
Yeah.
How did they do that?
One of the girls in the story, she walked down into the audience and she was narrating what she was doing. And she stopped in front of a boy and she asked a question. Can I tell you a secret? She leaned down and whispered something. The boy had fallen over out of his chair, but the audience didn't think anything of it because he was listed in the program as Fallen Boy. Then she moved to the chair over. Can I tell you a secret? When the girl nodded, she leaned down and
There was something we couldn't understand at first. If a Varrock attack depends on anxiety, why were these people falling over? They didn't think it was real, so they should have been safe. What those people were worried about wasn't that. It was that one of the actors would whisper in their ear and they wouldn't know what to do. They had stage fright, which as it turned out was as fatal as the fear of death.
by the time she got to me, I was scared. She whispered to me and nothing happened.
You'd taken the Enderal.
Yeah.
How many people had fallen over by then?
A lot.
And why wouldn't somebody have left?
They thought it was part of the play. Someone's cell phone had gone off, but if you looked in the program, it said cell phone audience member. Can I tell you a secret?
Ah! Stop the play!
Who's that?
My name is Kenosha R. Silverly Johnson. Everybody, listen up. In a calm and orderly manner, leave the theater. You have to leave for your own safety. There's a small child trapped in the parking lot in a car, so you all need to check and make sure that it's not your car.
Worst liar in the entire world.
Please, leave.
They think you're a part of the play.
You're the one playing me.
Yes, you're not human. Then what am I?
A Fairylock. You're human, and you are. Stay away from them. Now, will you leave?
They think you're a part of the play because you are a part of the play.
No, I'm not.
Then why are you in the program?
I'm not. part of the show, just in case I came back during the attack?
It's in the script.
There is no script. Right here. That's not real. This is a trap.
It's a college play.
The perfect trap. Everybody has to come in. Nobody's about to leave. Everybody! They feed on your fear. So, you've only lost a few so far, but that'll change fast. The lights will go out. You'll hear this crazy loud noise
25 days after the events at the Oak Box began, it came to an end.
My name is Angela Lohr, and I survived the Menicap Faranock attack.
My name is Clifton Barnes, and I survived being in the play.
Morning Aoki. I'm alive because of Kenosha R. Silverman Johnson.
Kenosha saved my life. My whole family was in the theater that night.
Thank you, Kenosha.
Thank you so much.
None of the people who had been unconscious had any memory of what happened, but it changed them. I published 3 papers.
I got a medal.
I got a promotion. I got a parade.
For a few weeks last year, the small town of Medicap, California became famous. But the fame wore out fast. What happened seemed impossible. Psychologists wrote it off as mass hysteria. People scared of a place they were already scared of.
I lived through the events, and even I'm not sure. Did it really happen, or was it like that I and the people? The most scared I've ever been. And it was just me scaring me.
Settle in. I have the play's not over.
The main thing about a trap is it needs to confuse the prey.
Why would a play have a false ending?
What's real? What's not?
Everybody, there's likely a 5-minute delay or so. There's a problem with the lights.
The prey is most vulnerable when it thinks it's escaped.
Spiders not home.
It almost breaks. I'm almost out of the woods. It was just me scaring me.
Curtain, a college play about a college play. An audience being attacked for watching a play about an audience being attacked.
Say to an audience, you are going to die! And they don't get out of their seats because they don't want to miss it.
All Faranauts are 19 years old, except